Hello and welcome. I'm Luke Darcy, and it is great to be alongside Jacqui, Felgate, Stanley and Dr. Carr. Welcome, guys.
Hi,
Good to see you, as always. And maybe it's time for all of us to book a holiday because it's World Tourism Day.
Oh, now this is a day I can get behind.
I'm not surprised. Me too. And holidays aren't just a fun time. Surprise, surprise, they're also good for your health.
Well, that's right, Jack, because research has shown that when people are on holiday, they take around about 13% more moderate to vigorous exercise and they sleep 4% more on average. Yes. Now, it may not sound much, but any extra sleep and exercise is good for pretty much all health conditions. And, anyway, what's not to love about a holiday?
Well, that's going to give me the excuse, small changes or not, just to book one again.
Well, maybe just hold fire on booking that flight just yet, Jack, because today we're taking a different kind of journey, one through the parts of the human body.
Yeah, my favourite subject, Darcy. I mean, the human body really is incredible. I mean, from the hair on our head down to the tips of our fingernails, there's so many components and the complexity is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, I could talk about this forever, but today we're just going to focus on a few of the important bits.
Like a unique program at the University of South Australia where they're 3D printing feet to train podiatry students.
It's amazing. And we're going to look at dental health as well. We'll put it under the microscope. And to be honest, we're not going well in the mouth hygiene department.
And from beards to moustaches, goatees to stubble, I'll be taking a deep dive into facial hair.
And we're still celebrating the great success of the Paris Olympics and the Paralympics earlier this month. There were some incredible performances in both games, but you might be surprised to know that until recently there has been no way at all for people with vision loss to play basketball. That is until some Aussie pioneers came up with a solution.
Victorian Tanya Thomas believes sport should be accessible to everyone.
It's not just about your physical fitness, but it's your mental health as well. You need to be able to get out of the house, you need to be active, you need to be in a place that's supportive and fun and where you can be with people that have the same experience as yourself.
So when she found herself turning someone away from her basketball club's All Abilities program, she simply couldn't drop it.
Somebody asked me if we could cater for people who are blind or have low vision, and I thought, no, we can't. But after getting off the phone, I don't like to tell people, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So we decided let's do some research. Maybe it's something that we can do. Bit of research proved that there was nothing out there like this, and that if we wanted to make a program like this, we were going to have to create one ourselves.
So, when we're coming down, this is the halfway line?
Yep.
Without the faintest idea how to reinvent a sport for people with low vision, Tanya sought the insights of former school teacher Brad Hoare.
The key now. I've loved basketball for a long time, and as my eyesight's been decreasing, there's been less and less opportunities for me to participate in basketball, but to start building a program that will enable people with very different eye conditions to participate in basketball is a really fantastic thing that I've been a part of.
Ready, then, yep.
Brad introduced me to his blind table tennis group, and I was able to go down, have a bit of fun with these guys, talk to them about what I wanted to do and how they could help me. They did tell me that Vision Australia have balls that have bells in them. So that was our first thing, was let's buy a ball. Let's buy a ball that's got a bell in it, get that here and see what that looks like.
Liz, are you ready for a bounce pass?
Yep, ready.
So it was basically coming out on court and trying out our ideas, seeing what worked and seeing what didn't. And that's still how we run it today.
Well done, you got it in.
The weekly trial and error sessions at the Frankston and District Basketball Association have led to the creation of Bell Ball,
Well done, Peter. Great job.
a new spin on basketball in which players wear wrist bells when defending and where clear communication is critical.
For example, if I wanted Dan to pass the ball to me, I'd be saying, Dan, Dan, Dan. So he'll follow my voice. And the ball's got to bounce once, at least once, before it reaches the other player, so they can hear the ball coming.
Well done.
And when we're shooting for goal, for people like a B1 who's totally blind, there's a buzzer on the goal or the net.
Have a shot, Lani. One thing we learnt very early on was we should never assume what someone with any level of blindness can and cannot do. At the start, we believed that support workers would play more of a part, So if a basketball was passed to someone and they missed it, a support worker would run and grab the basketball for them. Now the participant goes to catch the ball, they might fumble it, but their reaction to where the ball has dropped on the floor is immediate, which is a huge advancement for those participants, and it's allowed us to branch out more and to add more to our game. Oh, sorry, I should have got that.
When you can't see the ball coming, then you're not as frightened as other people watching. I know that, my husband, Terry, watches and feels worried that I'm going to get knocked on the head. But for me, I don't go into it thinking, gosh, I hope no one's going to hit me, because everybody supports each other and you do have a trust.
These guys love it. They love it, and they've got new ideas every week. So the more we play and the more we do, the more ideas that they come up with. Last week, they came up with a different scoring system for people with different levels of vision. So, yeah, it's really awesome to see that basketball can be played in so many different varieties of ways. It doesn't have to be the way a traditional basketball game's played.
For the moment, Bellball remains an exclusive at its founding club. But these pioneering players believe it's got a bright future on the horizon.
I'd love to see blind basketball competitions between stadiums, between states even.
I'd like it to develop into an international game, maybe part of the Paralympics in the future.
To be excluded from things it's just upsetting, really, the fact that you have to say, I can't do this and I can't do that. So to be given that opportunity is amazing.
Joe, do you ever have those moments where you've got a word, you know that you know it, but you just can't quite remember it and get it out?
Oh, it happens to me all the time. It is so frustrating because it often seems to be the simplest of words. Is it ageing? I'm a little worried.
Well, not necessarily, Joe. They call it tip of the tongue phenomenon. It happens to all of us regardless of age. And they say what probably counts more is when you learnt that particular word. So if you learnt it later in life, there's a chance that at times you may not be able to recall it. But if it's a word that you learnt when you were younger, big chance that's going to come out every single time.
Well, the good news is we can improve our recall simply by paying attention, which sort of seems like a no-brainer, really, but it's all about paying attention and focusing when you're actually learning the thing that you're learning so that you can remember it.
Whereas our mate Dr. Nick Carr says, you either use it or lose it at the same time.
Oh, he really is a fan of keeping your memory in shape. And one of his suggestions is that we should challenge ourselves to remember lists rather than writing them down. But he has lots of other very useful tips, I think you would agree. Anyway, here is Dr. Nick to talk about something that actually has nothing to do with memory.
Beards and moustaches, soul patches and sideburns. We men can grow them, mostly, while you women can't, mostly. Ever wondered why? Well, today we go from the highbrow to the eyebrow and talk about everything to do with facial hair. I was a late developer. While all my schoolmates were sprouting bristly chins, the shaving set that my dad gave me when I turned 13 was only trotted out once or twice a month, then mostly out of a sense of optimism rather than need. So what is it that turns the silky-skinned schoolboy into the bushy, bearded bandit? It all comes down to dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, a hormone that's derived from, yes, you guessed it, testosterone. At puberty, the testicles pump out testosterone, the follicles respond, and hey presto, whiskers. And although I was a bit late starting, I got there in the end. Women actually have the same number of hair follicles on their face as men, but they produce way less testosterone and the follicles are less reactive to DHT. Now, excessive facial hairiness in younger women, called hirsutism, can be a sign of what's called polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS. Acne, weight gain, period problems, and issues with fertility go along with the hairiness. So if that's you, then make sure you get checked out by the doctor. Now, most hair has a purpose. I mean, the hair on our heads and body keeps us warm, eyelashes keep rubbish out of the eyes, the hair down there helps prevent infection and reduces friction. Even our eyebrows have a job: to keep the sweat from our eyes. Don't believe me? Just try shaving them off on a hot day and see how that works. Really bad idea. But facial hair is unique in that it seems to have no actual practical purpose. It's just a way of showing off our masculine potency, an evolutionary way of scaring off rivals and attracting mates. And if you are attracted to a full bushy beard, then you're what's called a pogonophile. If, on the other hand, the thought terrifies you, then you're suffering from pogonophobia. Now, the ancient Greeks were pogonophiles. They loved their beards. So their rivals, the Romans, generally preferred to go clean-shaven. And throughout history, fashion has ebbed and flowed. King Henry V, for example, was clean-shaven, and so were most Englishmen and subsequent kings. Then along came big, bad, bristly Henry VIII, and all the Englishmen chucked away their razors. Talking of royalty, did you know that while all the 4 kings in a pack of cards have beards, only one is missing a moustache? It's the King of Hearts. Trot that one out at trivia night. These days, of course, no self-respecting hipster would be seen without a luxuriant facial growth. I reckon there are some practical reasons for us Australian men, because a beard is not only good sunscreen, it also apparently helps protect against jellyfish stings.
Coming up, we look inside the human ear. We keep up with the latest science on dental health, and Zoe puts her spin on the humble omelette. See you after this.
Everyone has a unique ear print. Just like fingerprints, they're as individual as you are. The shape of your ears is genetic. They might be attached or detached. It's an inherited trait. Ears continue to grow throughout your entire life. It's so slow you won't even notice until years later. Yes, you do hear during sleep. Your ears are always working. Selective hearing is real. Ears can focus on certain sounds and tune out others. Like optical illusions, there are auditory illusions. What you see influences what you hear. Ears really are sonic superheroes. They can detect sounds as faint as a pin drop and as thunderous as a rock concert. Ears are also emotion detectors, capturing laughter, the rustle of leaves, and the beats that make your heart skip a note. If you can wiggle them, you're one of the 10 to 20% of the population who can. Ears to you. Well, from ears to exercise. So, Darcy, you may have heard that doctors in the UK can now write what's called a social prescription for things like walking and cycling for both physical and mental health.
I love it, Nick. The idea of prescribing exercise makes absolutely perfect sense to me. Get people moving, improve the overall health of the population. I'm all for it. What about you?
Oh, huge fan, Darcy, because exercise is good for pretty much every medical condition. It's not just to the UK, so other countries are doing this too. So in Canada, doctors can now prescribe a free pass to all the national parks to get people out there in nature, exercising. And you wouldn't think you'd need a doctor to prescribe it, would you, to go outside?
Well, it's brilliant, isn't it? I love it. Again, it's a great initiative. We must be exercising more because the demand for podiatrists is bigger than it's ever been. But for young up-and-coming podiatrists, getting the hands-on work is actually a bit more difficult than you think. So the University of South Australia has come up with a unique solution.
From bad hygiene to impractical shoes, there are plenty of factors out there that can cause our feet a ton of issues. But for about 1 in 20 of us, one of the most serious factors is diabetes.
Diabetes affects your blood flow and your nerve function. So unfortunately, people will injure their foot, not necessarily be aware of it because their nerves aren't working. And that means that they don't even limp on that foot and offload that injury. And so little holes in the skin can become bigger holes in the skin and then fester. On the other side, they also have trouble with their blood flow, so their healing rate is far less than what it can be for people without diabetes. So if you put the two together, an unfortunate side effect is that you end up with an ulceration, very slow in healing and very, very likely to get infected.
With rates of diabetes in Australia rapidly increasing, the number of amputations performed on ulcerated feet has risen by 30% in just 10 years. But podiatrist and uni lecturer Dr. Helen Banwell says most amputations could be avoided with best practice treatment.
Podiatrists really play a part in diabetic-related foot disease and foot ulcers because they can debride or pare away or cut away that non-viable dead skin and bring it back to normal tissue and allow it to heal better. So what we thought was a few years ago, we sort of sat and thought, how can we improve our teaching on this? And 3D printing was sort of proposed as a potentially good idea.
To help her students get more hands-on experience before treating real patients, Dr. Banwell spent 4 years working with researchers at the University of South Australia to develop realistic 3D foot models.
So we've got two models of foot model that we've ended up with. One is a more robust version printed out of PLA material, and we use the more robust one to teach the second year students who haven't ever used a scalpel before. Whereas as they get more proficient and more experienced, we move on to our Ninja Flex models that actually move and mimic the foot far greater than what the plastic ones do. So about 2019, we finally got our models to the point where we were quite happy with them. And then we had to start on how do we create a foot ulcer. I didn't realise you could buy commercial grade body ooze, but you can. And we put that in the wound and then surround it with a standard icing mix, a frosting mix to mimic pus, which is not particularly pleasant, but it does the job amazingly. And then the whole wound is covered in a flexible resin that mimics the skin.
By working with lifelike replicas of ulcerated feet, Adelaide's next generation of podiatrists are spending hours fine-tuning skills that could prevent hundreds of amputations each year.
And using long, sweeping strokes.
There is a satisfaction to it, especially when there's that debriding and getting all of it off, making sure it's nice and clean. You really have to do it hands-on to really get a feel for just how well you're doing it and if you're doing it correctly and how quick you're able to do it as well.
Good job. We've actually measured what these models have done to their anxiety and their confidence, and it's been really amazing. So having access to a foot model gives them up to about 40% more confidence in their ability to debride a foot ulcer and reduces their anxiety by about the same amount.
It's not like in class, say, you know, this week we're learning about ulcers and we can just have someone with an ulcer come in for every single person and we can all debride. Like, this is as real as it's going to get without it being a real patient. And I think it's really good that when we do see someone with an ulcer, we can think back to what we did here and apply it.
Arguments, Dr. Nick, that can happen from really big things like parenting or really small things like whether or not you put the toilet seat down. But the good news is there is help at hand.
Yes, and it comes from research, Joe, my favourite topic. And what they found is that the best tactic to stop an argument getting out of hand is take a 5-second break. Now, this clever piece of research showed that partners tend to match each other's aggression levels, so breaking that up tends to stop that pattern.
So the next time you're having a fight with your partner about, I don't know, something silly like how to stack the dishwasher.
Now, that matters.
It really matters.
There's a right way to do it.
You know, you just take a little time out. I think that would help us right now.
It might help me.
Back after this.
Don't know about you, Nick, but I've never been a fan of napping during the day. I always feel like I wake up and feel worse afterwards, although the Japanese have developed an innovative new nap strategy that they say works really effectively if you've missed a night's sleep.
Yeah, well, I'm actually a big fan of the daytime nap. But this research was around the people who have to pull an all-nighter. And what they showed was that having one 90-minute nap is really good for overall performance, and then later on a 30-minute nap helps reduce fatigue.
So is it really an all-nighter if you've had 90 minutes of sleep, Nick?
I still have a feeling you might pick me up on that one. But actually, for those that do have to burn the midnight oil, it could be really helpful. So people like shift workers, people, new parents, or even those cramming for exams, it might be a great strategy.
Well, no doubt knowledge is power, and it's worth staying on top of all the latest medical advice. Here are the latest guidelines from the Australian Dental Association.
I think it's quite surprising for many people to understand that dental disease and oral disease can lead to some really significant health problems. We also know that even dental diseases that many people might perceive are relatively harmless, like tooth decay, can lead to hospitalisation and adults and children getting quite sick from their teeth.
A new statement reflecting the latest research into oral health has been released by the Australian Dental Association. It's the first time they've updated the advice in over a decade.
One of the changes of this new statement is the fact that oral health is integral for health and well-being. And this really follows messaging that's going around the world from the World Health Organization, which recognises that there is no universal health without oral health. We also know that there are growing links about the connection between oral health and other diseases, particularly what we call non-communicable diseases. So things like obesity and diabetes, Alzheimer's disease. And we're still trying to understand those processes a little bit more. And there's still a lot of research that needs to happen. But I think it's not altogether surprising that the mouth is connected to the rest of the body. Brushing, flossing, reducing the amount of sugar and making sure that there's timely and regular dental checkups are probably the foundations of making sure that people have healthy teeth. But of course, there are lots of things that come into oral health. And so this statement, for example, includes important points about smoking, alcohol use, vaping, the use of mouth guards, for example. We know that mouth guards can be really effective in reducing traumatic injury in the mouth. So one of the things that's really changed people's oral health has been community water fluoridation. And this is certainly the case in Australia, where many people have access to community water fluoridation. It's really led to a reduction in tooth decay, particularly in adult teeth.
But although there's a marked decline in adult cavities, it's the reverse case in children.
It's hard to know exactly why we are seeing persistently high or maybe even increasing rates of tooth decay in children. It may well be that sugar is more readily available. It's also very hard with marketing and advertising these days for parents to tell what's got sugar and what hasn't. That's why we have a message about the first dental visit happening at 12 months of age or when the first tooth comes through. It's really important to start that process really early because we know we can prevent tooth decay. My advice to parents is to make sure that they connect in with their dentist and make sure they take their child for regular dental checkups. We know that brushing twice a day makes a difference. We know that fluoridated toothpaste is really important. So definitely focus on that toothbrushing and then look out for sugar. Those basics will help.
So this sounds like a completely made-up term, Jo. Herkel-Dürkeling. Have you ever heard of that?
Did I sprinkle that on my eggs at brunch the other day?
Oh, a little bit Herkel-Dürkel on my Wheaties. Beautiful. No. It's actually a term that originated in Scotland, and it means lolling around in bed longer than you really need to. So, you know, instead of jumping up and starting the day, you just lie there. You're not sleeping, you're not on the phone, you're just relaxing, body and mind.
Oh, do you know what? I am an outstanding Herkel-Dürkler.
You're a pro,
I really believe in being horizontal, you know, just to meditate, breathing, just letting your mind wander. I'm passionate about that.
Yeah, well, if you don't have to jump up and start the day all of a sudden, it's a really good, nice, calm way to begin.
Absolutely. We're all in such a hurry these days, Nick, to, you know, we feel like we've got to be somewhere and do something, and stress has become such a part of our lives for most of us, and it can leave its mark on our bodies inside and out.
So I've got this saying, which is let food be your medicine and medicine be your food, which is such a powerful expression, I feel, because it really depicts the connection between food, quality of it, and the flow-on effect that it has with your body.
Listen!
There's quite a strong relationship between our food and our skin health. So if someone has acne, some of the foods that you want to eat to really help improve your skin are a lot more low GI type of foods. So you're really just wanting to balance your blood sugar, your hormones, and really support your gut health to bring down the inflammation. So complex carbohydrates like your oats, your beans, your chickpeas, and you want a beautiful array of vegetables, bright colours, so your greens with your kale, broccoli, bok choy, that type of thing, your red with your capsicum, tomato, and then of course your bright orange is with your sweet potatoes and your carrots. The real hero of a lot of those foods that will be coming out is your vitamin C, A and E nutrients, and then of course your zinc and your magnesium, which is so important for inflammatory conditions and also helping the skin heal. So some drinks that are good for managing acne is we all love a bit of green tea. That's great with its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. Water obviously is important to help hydrate our skin and to help your body get rid of all those toxins. One of the things that sometimes surprises people with the relationship between food and their skin is it's not necessarily the food type, it's the food quality. For example, chocolate. Chocolate is not bad for the skin, but based on the quality of the chocolate, obviously we want to go for more of like a dark chocolate, sugar-free, ideally if we can, and just having that good quality of actual cocoa mass and cocoa butter. One of the other things we need to be conscious of about food and the impact on our skin are potential allergies such as dairy, eggs, nuts. Lifestyle aspects that also come into play with acne is number one, stress. School exams or workplace stress. So it's really important to have different times where you can just relax and pull that back a little bit. Secondly, maintaining regular exercise to really help your body detoxify and get rid of everything. Thirdly, avoiding smoking and vaping because they do actually increase the sebum production and also have an effect on hydration of the skin, which is really important for skin healing. So I understand acne can be really hard, especially because it can really knock your confidence and can exacerbate your stress. But rest assured, because there are professionals out there like myself who also have some other little tricks up their sleeve, once you know what to do, you can have a handle on it and you are in control, which means you can continue to have a wonderful complexion.
Around 18% of the Australian population suffers from allergic rhinitis, more commonly known as hay fever. It's a type of allergic reaction that typically affects the eyes, ears, sinus and throat. Symptoms occur when the body's immune system overreacts to something harmless like dust mites in the house, our beloved pets, or what we typically associate with hay fever, pollens. Whilst airborne grass pollens are at their peak at this time of the year, the fact is, hay fever can happen at any time. Those suffering allergic rhinitis may experience one or many symptoms: itchy, stuffy, runny nose, frequent sneezing, itchy, watery eyes, or a condition called urticaria, red itchy bumps, or a welt-like rash that can appear randomly anywhere on the body. Whichever way you experience it, there's no arguing. Hay fever can be debilitating, impacting our sleep, concentration, and feelings about our physical appearance. Identifying and avoiding hay fever allergens is an important part of managing it. But thankfully, we can also turn to a once daily solution that's non-drowsy, fast-acting, and that provides round-the-clock relief. Unfortunately for many of us, it's very difficult to avoid hay fever allergens completely. Do we want a life of no pets, not being outside? It's impossible, right? So make sure you speak to your healthcare practitioner so you can get through the year, especially springtime, sneeze-free.
Dr. Nick, there's been quite the breakthrough in working hours in Australia recently. As of last month, employees will have the legal right not to respond to work calls and emails after hours under new right to disconnect laws.
Yeah, it's a great idea, I reckon, Jack, particularly these days when we're all contactable 24/7. And it just gives workers the right to not respond to non-urgent calls outside of business hours.
Look, I'd like to see how this is actually going to work in reality, but I guess the process is there. It's a good idea to make sure we can really disconnect from our jobs, and I think it'd be good for your mental health too.
Yeah, I agree, Jack, and businesses that don't comply could be fined up to $20,000, but, I'd like to see that happen.
So from hefty fines to switching off to some downright me time, I'm talking personal pampering.
Skincare is not the only beauty regime you need in your life. Hair care is evolving and My Mane is here for it. While we love the shampoo and conditioner staples, it's the addition of a high-performing treatment that brings us closer to good hair every day. The Hask Keratin Smooth 5-in-1 Leave-In Spray is a treatment designed to pack hair strands with moisturising agents, leaving it sleek, smooth and shiny. Thoughtfully blended with clean ingredients and infused with natural extracts. Its multi-benefit actions include nourishing, repairing, detangling and fighting frizz, as well as providing heat protection for up to 232 degrees Celsius. All you have to do is shake it well and spray generously to dry or wet hair. Comb through and don't worry about rinsing, just go ahead and style. For best results, start with the Hask Keratin Smooth Shampoo and Conditioner and then follow through with the treatment. The state of our hair is a representation of what is going on in our lives. It's a driver of our confidence to take on what life throws at us. With that in mind, may your day be just like your post-hair treatment, smooth.
Life is busy, and that's putting it lightly. Between our work and social lives, staying active, raising a family, it's a lot, and almost impossible to juggle without a restful night's sleep. But the stats are in, and 3 in 5 Australians sometimes experience a sleep issue 3 or more times a week. For those needing a bit of help hitting the hay, let me introduce the mineral magnesium. In the sleep space, magnesium plays a role in supporting healthy sleeping patterns, plus supporting muscle function and nervous system health, preparing us for rest. Low dietary magnesium may affect circadian rhythm and melatonin levels. Thankfully, food sources help to increase magnesium levels, but we can also consider supplementation. Bioceuticals Ultra Muscle Easinite is specially formulated to support healthy sleeping patterns and relieve muscle cramps when dietary intake is inadequate. It contains well-absorbed Ultramag magnesium, unique and exclusive to Bioceuticals. Simply mix the lemon-flavoured powder in water or juice and consume once a day before bedtime. Sleep is up there with one of my favourite hobbies. Not that I'm getting a lot of it right now as a new mum. From resting and relaxing the body to supporting our energy, it's impossible to dream big without dreaming first.
Jack, we've been talking a lot about body parts on the show today. I got a fun fact for you. Did you know that 50% of the strength in our hand is contained in our little pinky finger?
I did not know that.
You do now.
But I have another one for you. Did you know that the average person walks 161,000 kilometres in their lifetime, which is the equivalent of going around the world 4 times?
Well, Jack, we've got to get those steps in. Big believer in that. Did you know the body detects taste in 0.00015 of a second?
I did not know that. We're teaching each other a lot today. But if that doesn't get your taste buds going, here's Zoe in the House of Wellness kitchen doing what she does best.
There are few foods as versatile as eggs. Sweet or savoury, they do it all. And today, I'm glamming up a traditional favourite, introducing my goat cheese and kale omelette with a soufflé twist. Start by separating the egg whites from the yolks. Then beat until soft peaks form. This creates air bubbles that give that light, fluffy texture. Whisk the yolks before folding back into the egg whites. Gentle is key. I'm warming extra virgin olive oil on a medium to high heat. Pour in the egg mixture, making sure to cover the entire pan. Cook for 3 to 4 minutes to set the base. Before the best part, the filling. I'm going with savoury flavours today. The slight bitterness of kale balances the richness of the eggs, and its crunch factor contrasts with the softness of the goat cheese. Kale is a superfood for a reason. It's packed full of antioxidants that help improve mental focus. A lid adds volume, creating that souffle effect. I love it a bit underdone, but the choice is yours. Omelettes really are the dish of the people. They're easy, versatile, healthy, and they're cheap. And who says they're a breakfast dish? Anytime, any day, I say. Get Nourished is brought to you by Swiss Ultiboost Focus Nootropics. Support mental focus and function throughout the day to help tackle a busy and demanding modern lifestyle.
So when it comes to recycling, you can actually recycle more things than you anticipated. I'm going to talk through a couple of the most common misconceptions and how you can really increase what you're recycling at home. Now, the first one is aluminium foil. Now, aluminium is infinitely recyclable, but when we're recycling it, you don't want to be adding in tiny little pieces into your curbside recycling bin. Instead, you want to collect it all into a really large ball, so it's about the size of a tennis ball before throwing it into your recycling bin. So like this is way too small, but if we got more together, then we could then recycle it. You just need to make sure that it's not too dirty, so give everything a rough rinse before throwing it in your recycling. This is a really great size to put in your curbside recycling bin. When it comes to scrunching, I really like to do a scrunch test every time that I get something that I'm not really sure if it can be curbside recycled or not. The scrunch test means that if you scrunch something and then it pops back out into its shape, then generally speaking, it gets the big tick from me for curbside recycling. With lots of different companies now phasing out plastic bread tags, we're seeing a lot more paper bread tags come onto the market, which is amazing to see. But you need to be a little bit careful when it comes to recycling these, because if we think about one baby, tiny individual paper bread tag, it's way too small to go into your curbside recycling bin, so you need to put it in with bigger items. So I like to put all of mine in a brown paper bag in order to recycle them all at home. Just fold it over and then pop it into your recycling bin. Another misconception when it comes to recycling would be that you need to look at the little numbers inside the triangles. Now, these actually don't tell us if something can be recycled or not. What they're doing is they're telling us the type of plastic that this is made from. It's called a plastic resin identification code. Instead, what you should be looking for is the Australasian recycling label. You can see these on the back of the packs and they look a lot like this. You'll see one of 3 different symbols, and it really clearly states how to actually recycle something. For example, with this yogurt tub, it says that you can leave the lid attached and put the tub into your recycling bin. So here are just a couple of things that you probably didn't realise that you can recycle at home. So go sort through that rubbish bin and pull everything out and recycle right.
A couple have gone viral after they met when the woman accidentally fell asleep on the man's shoulder during a flight. What do you think?
Well, that is kind of sweet, but what is really strange that it has now kicked off a trend where people are trying to find their soulmates by falling asleep on strangers' shoulders. So now the debate is raging, is this creepy or cute? It's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. It's a bit bizarre, isn't it? I've been with Beck for nearly 25 years and I'm in real trouble without her because I've got some habits that no one's going to put up with anytime soon. But falling asleep on someone's shoulder, that's just downright bizarre, isn't it?
Well, I'm with you, Darcy. I think that's pretty weird. But relationship expert Samantha Jane says that falling in love on a flight is actually surprisingly common. And since people are relaxed and excited because they're often going out on holiday, so I guess it kind of makes sense.
But she has also said, Nick, that you need to be alert because travel can make you fall for someone you wouldn't under normal circumstances. You know, kind of like that Hawaiian shirt you bring back. I should never have bought this shirt. She also says people seem more attracted attractive on flights because you make up this romantic story that they have an exciting life full of fun and adventure.
Okay, so shoulder sleeping on strangers to find love. We're a definite no.
We're a definite no.
Hard no. Hard no on that one. Yeah. No, that's just stay away from me on a flight. I just want to look after myself. That's it for today. Thank you to Jack, thank you to Joe and Dr. Nick Carr for a great day, as always, on the House of Wellness.
Make sure you check out House of Wellness Radio this Sunday.
And don't forget to pick up our latest House of Wellness magazine with our cover story on beauty.
Thanks, as always, to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. It's bye for now.